Hello students, let us learn General Science for class 8 from the book Science Square. Today we are going to learn chapter friction. In this chapter we shall discuss about friction, different types of friction, how to increase the friction or decrease the friction, why we say friction is a necessary evil, and about fluid friction. Let us begin the chapter. What is the term meaning of friction? Friction is a nothing but a force which resists the relative motion of the surfaces. Most of the surfaces, like solid, liquid, and air, offer the frictional force. The frictional force always acts in the opposite direction of the moment when both the surfaces are in contact and move relative to each other. Let us see an examples. A moving wheel on the ground stops after covering a certain distance. This is because the surface of the ground offers opposite direction for friction to the surface of the wheel in motion. After applying brakes to a moving bike, the surface of the brake offers friction to the surface of the moving wheel and the bicycle stops because of force of friction. When we push a book gently on a table, it stops after moving for some distance. This is because the friction between the surfaces of the table and the book. What are the factors affecting the friction? Friction is caused by irregularities on the two surfaces in contact. When these surfaces come in contact, the irregularities of the surfaces get interlocked. We have to apply more force to remove the interlocking. A surface produces friction when it slides or rolls over another surface. Frictional force will increase with the increase in the weight. When the weight increases, the irregularities between the surfaces getting interlocked also increases tightly because of pressure, and the surface offers more resistance for the friction. For example, it is easier to drag a mat when nobody is sitting on it than a person sitting on it because of friction, which increases with the increase in the weight. Rougher surface offers more force of friction. What are the different types of friction? Sliding friction. This friction comes into action when a surface slides over another surface and resists its motion. We call this as a sliding friction. When a book or a box slides over a ground, we call it as a sliding friction. The next friction is the rolling friction. The friction which comes into action when a surface rolls over another surface and resists its motion. You can see that rolling friction is always smaller than the sliding friction. Due to this, roll anything over the ground can be made easier than sliding. Why we say friction is a necessary evil? We can walk easily because the ground offers friction. It is difficult task to move on a wet muddy track or a wet marble floor. Soles of the shoes have grooves on them to give more friction to the ground, which gives better grip when we walk. The tires of the vehicles have treads for better grip over the road. Friction can also produce heat because you can see this when you rigorously rub your palms together for a few minutes. Writing the pen is possible because paper provides friction to the tip of the pen. When a machine is operated, heat generated and causes much of waste of energy. What, do you, what conclusion would you come when you read all these points? These shows that friction is sometimes necessary and sometimes it is harmful. So in both the ways we can say it is both harmful as well as harmless or useful, and hence we say it is a necessary evil. Let us see how to increase the friction. Vehicle with the treaded tires provides more friction which gives better grip with the road. Soles of the shoes are threaded to increase the friction between the sole and the ground. Javelin thrower rubs some powder on his palm to get better grip on the javelin. Kabaddi players rub their hands with the soil for a better grip of their opponents. Let us now discuss how to decrease the friction. With the help of the lubricant, we can reduce the friction in the engines of the wheel. In machines, graphite powder, oil, greaser can be used as a lubricant to reduce the friction. Sometimes few drops of oils are also poured on the hinges of the door to reduce the friction so that the door moves smoothly. While playing carom board, we will sprinkle fine powder. This is done to reduce the friction. Fluid friction. Gases and liquids are generally known as fluids. Like solids, fluids also provide friction. The friction of the fluid increases with the speed of the object moving through it, and the speed of the fluid also is taken into consideration. The frictional force offered by the fluids is called drag. Objects which are made to move in fluid are generally streamlined shape. This reduces the friction offered by the fluid. You can see the fish, the shape of the aeroplane, ship, boat, birds are all streamlined. A shape which is pointed on both the ends and wider at the middle is called streamlined shape. This facilitates easier movement through fluids. Let us have a chapter recap. Friction opposes the relative motion between two surfaces in contact. It depends on the nature of the surfaces in contact. Friction depends on how hard the two surfaces pressing together. Static friction comes into play when we try to move an object at rest. Sliding friction comes into play when an object is sliding over another. So we can say always sliding friction is smaller than the static friction. Friction can be increased by making a surface rough. The sole of the shoes and the tires of the vehicle are threaded to increase the friction. Friction can be reduced by using lubricants or by using ball bearings. When one body rolls over the another body, roll friction comes into the play. Rolling friction is smaller than the sliding friction. So, sliding friction is smaller than the static friction and the rolling friction is smaller than the sliding friction. So, both static friction and the rolling friction is smaller than the sliding friction. Fluid friction can be minimized by giving suitable shapes to the bodies moving in the fluids. This ends the chapter.